Hi everyone, I'm Margie O'Brien with Capital TV. This is another Capital Spotlight. And boy, is this going to make you think twice the next time you go shopping at the grocery store. Representative Dennis Canario is joining me. Let's talk about your legislation to label GMO products. First, explain what GMO means.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Marjorie. It's a pleasure to be here. Marjorie, this is purely a right-to-know bill that I have submitted because genetically modified organisms is what GMOs stand for. And a good portion of the foods that we ingest have been genetically modified. And what we're saying is in the bill is that we'd like to see foods that have been genetically modified be labeled as such, because people should be able to make an informed decision before they ingest the food, whether they want to actually ingest it or not. And the number one product that's been, that they say is GMO affected is corn. And you'd be surprised how many things that we ingest have corn syrup and so forth. So
I was really surprised to see tomatoes on that list. You think you're just eating something, a fresh vegetable from the garden, but that's not the case for a lot of the foods in the market.
Well, this is why it's important, in my eyes, that when I go shopping, I personally buy organic foods. I buy organic vegetables and so forth, organic milk, because I read the label and I know that it's natural and that's what I want to consume. But as a consumer, I'm making that personal choice. I'm not here to say it scientifically this is not healthy and you shouldn't eat it. What I'm trying to say is that you should be informed of the process that's taken place in that food before you ingest it.
And how are they doing this? The corn, I can understand, might be done in the processing, but for a group of tomatoes on a vine, how would they be doing that?
Well, there's actually several ways, and some of which they will actually inject the tomato to ripen it rather quickly, sometimes overnight or sometimes sooner. And, it makes the consumer wonder, why is the United States the country with the highest rate of cancer in the world? Dozens and dozens of other countries have enforced the GMO labeling laws, and their cancer rate is much less. So that must tell you something when you look at those statistics. So again, this is a right-to-know thing, and people should have the right to know what they're consuming.
How is this different than perhaps a new drug that comes on the market, where is that getting more vetting process before the consumer knows? I mean, when you get a prescription, there's a little detail about the drug, and then there's 17 pages about what's in that drug. It's night and day to the food that we're eating.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting, is that the federal government, the FDA, does not monitor the testing of the GMO process. They leave that up to the companies, the big industrial companies that use these GMOs to do their own testing. So the government stays out of it. So we're letting the companies that actually make these GMOs do their own testing, and then they come out and say, oh no, it's safe. Well, perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't. But there's no independent studies.
So your legislation really is about transparency. You want the consumer to know what they're consuming. Absolutely.
And again, the federal government has not taken any action on this on the federal level. So states one by one are starting to take action, on their own. Again, there are other countries, dozens of other countries, that already have this labeling law into effect. And I think it's a good idea. Transparency is a good thing, and knowledge is a good thing. So we need to have that knowledge so we can make our best informed decisions.
Representative, I think that everyone's going to spend an extra 20 minutes next time they go to the grocery store to really look through things.
Absolutely, and that's all we want people to do, is be aware of what they're putting in their bodies.
Thank you for joining us
Thank you
very
so
much. And this was another Capital Spotlight. I'm Margie O'Brien.